I would argue that The Northman is Robert Eggers' best movie. While my favorite is probably still The Lighthouse, this is overall a better movie because of how much greatness is truly in it. I would say the only negative I have is that once the main character gets to where he's going, it's a bit slow at first, but it quickly straightens itself out and gets going again. This is probably the first time since The Lord of the Rings where someone has done a true epic. While not as big as movies like The Ten Commandments, Ben-Hur, and Lawrence of Arabia, I still felt that it was bigger than the story it was telling. I feel as though Lord of the Rings unintentionally almost killed the epic because we truly have never gotten an epic since then, to my recollection, that is. And I'm not talking about when people are like, holy shit, bro, Endgame was epic. I'm talking about like an actual tried and true epic. With people giving hundreds of millions of dollars to big budget movies, I am weirdly surprised that no one has tried to make a true epic. But I guess everything is too congested with superhero movies, so who knows. The performances are on top form. Alexander Skarsgård, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe, Clay Spang, pretty much everyone gave some of the greatest and strongest performances I have seen in a long fucking time. Probably since Dafoe in The Lighthouse, funnily enough. Every single actor channels their absolute greatest talent through this movie. Skarsgård very much proves in this movie that he's not just a pretty face. He doesn't give, like, the most, like, hugely amazing performance in terms of, like, so much, like, depth and blah, blah, blah. But I think through a lot of his body language and facial expressions, and through a lot of that showcases his talents, you know. And I think that's where his strengths lie. Maybe not in anything else, but body expressions and facial expressions are definitely his bread and butter. Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe have very small roles, and I was a little bit upset by that. But their time on screen was excellent. They were, they were brilliant. Surprisingly, Ethan Hawke. I mean, no knocking on Ethan Hawke, but I didn't think he could deliver something as great as this. Now, I haven't seen every performance from Nicole Kidman, but I would dare say, it's her greatest performance, just from her scene with Amleth later on in the movie. And if you know the scene, you know what I'm talking about. It's just all the actors just really just command the screen. They just give it their absolute all, and like Eggers picks and chooses just like the cream of the crop, and clearly he just fucking knows how to direct actors, man. He is just pure and utter brilliance when it comes to that, because the performances are easily the best part of the movie. I mean, which is a high bar considering everything else in the movie, but moving on. The cinematography is as beautiful as it ever could be. Jaron Blaschke, I think that's how you pronounce it. If I am mispronouncing it, I apologize. He's Eggers' go-to guy, and it's no surprise why, with Jaron knocking it out of the park. While I do still think he should have won the Oscar for The Lighthouse, although Roger Deakins is the only DP that could have beaten Blaschke that year, and I'm glad it went to someone great. I would say his work here is somehow even better. The entire third act is just an enthralling piece of film, just from a visual standpoint. While a lot of the greatness does rest on Eggers, as I said, and his command of the screen, I do think that the film would not be as good if Jaron Blaschke wasn't the DP. The production design is once again pure excellence, similar to The Witch. It's simple yet accurate to the time, because Eggers actually cares about that accuracy. He wants to showcase with proper research what it was like in terms of costuming, the sets, the makeup, and the overall look. A filmmaker that takes their film seriously. What a thought. The story is really good. Eggers manages to take such simplistic storylines and make them so much more than they are. Girls dealing with weird shit, guys getting weird in a secluded location, and a simple quest for revenge. We've seen these ideas before, some great and some not so great, but Eggers does something to make it feel like something more. He has a touch, an aspect, a method to his madness that makes his films so much more than they could and should be. This pretty much Shakespearean tragedy unfolds with so much beauty and depth that I feel like it just gets better the more I think about it. The quest for vengeance is a simple one, as I stated, and while it doesn't do anything new with it, it feels like it is. Not just the strange visions and the epic feel, but there is a touch to it that makes it better than it should be. It's entirely possible that the greatness of the rest of the movie is propping up the story, but I still feel the story intrigued me, and it did have some good twists in there to keep the audience invested. It's, if I could describe it in any way that makes sense, is like Eggers doesn't reinvent the wheel. He doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. He just tries to show the wheel in a new and or interesting way to make the audience invested in the art he's showing on screen. If that makes sense, then that's what it feels like to me. I honestly do not recall a cinematic experience as amazing as this was. It was a packed theater, I was with friends, and I just watched the purest form of art unfold. The last time I saw a movie this close to perfection in a theater was probably 1917, but even this easily beats it. While The Batman, for instance, is a great fucking movie, I felt little emotion towards it. Within the first shot of The Northman, I was fucking hooked. This is honestly the type of movie that we should be making, but Hollywood refuses to fucking burn. But at this point, it really fucking needs to, because then it can open the door for more creative and interesting movies like this. Imagine the 1970s, the cream of the crop, the greatest decade of film, but on crack. That's what it could be. Filmmakers making stuff like this. That would be amazing. But I digress. The Northman is a sight to behold. Literally every aspect is as close to perfection as you can possibly get. I know I haven't really described myself well. I'm just kind of lost because, like, I genuinely don't remember seeing a movie this good in the theater before. Like, I don't know, something about the way Eggers makes a story, makes a film, makes every single aspect just the best it could possibly be. He makes me lost for words. I know that this is probably a really poor review. I know. You could probably watch and read way better written, better showcase, better told reviews than I could ever hope to do. But while watching, I just fell in love with this movie. I just cannot get it out of my head. I keep thinking about it over and over and over and over again. There's just something about this specific movie that, after watching The Northman, I have never wanted to be a filmmaker more. I've never wanted to make something like this. Not this good, but something like this, because this is the movie. These are the types of movies that make me want to do this for a living. Not for the obvious reasons, to fucking just showcase stories and beauty and depth and themes just so out of this world. And I just wanted to tell everyone that. I know I'm rambling and ranting like a lunatic, but probably in its greatest example, you just have to go and see it for yourself. Because truly, as the title says, The Northman is a masterclass of cinematic excellence.